Hi everyone, how's it going? It's Nina. It's been a second, it's been a minute. I meant to get on here a little bit earlier, but today I want to have an awesome discussion or just a quick check in of a very important topic. And that's talking about fake healers, shapeshifters, and renegade healers. In my energy healing course, I talk a little bit about them, how to spot them, and how to navigate around them because there's like so many people out here in this world claiming to be a healer, in which we are healers. But you got to make sure you kind of know what you're doing before you start taking on that form. Halos and Home Tarot. Hi, how are you? If you're just joining in, please say hello in the chat. Let me know you're here. Let me know where you're coming in from. I know people all around the world, and I love connecting with all kinds of individuals. So back to a little bit our topic of fake healers, shapeshifters, and renegade healers. I was inspired to do this topic when basically I had an incident like a few weeks ago where it was blatantly obvious that someone copied everything they saw from their experience with me and just replicated it. And at first I got so angry because I was like, how dare they copy me? How dare they culturally appropriate? How dare they do all of these things? And before I reacted, I took some deep breaths and then I said, and I consulted my friends, and my friends reminded me, they're like, listen, first of all, if you're doing something right, people are going to copy you. Second of all, there are always going to be people that culturally appropriate. And these are the people that we call, and it's not our job to confront them because they're always going to be there. So I ended up not confronting that person because they're shapeshifter. Like if you check them out, you would see that they're constantly shifting into this who they want to be. And so when I was able to look at it through that lens, I had greater compassion because I was like, wow, this person literally does not know who they are. So they're trying to emulate and copy other styles because they're inspired. And so, amidst the emotions, we have to take it as almost like a compliment, that this person dares to copy us and they want to do their own thing. Now, if their presentation comes off another way, that's a completely different story. So, like I said, first of all, when it comes to cultural appropriation, it's an uphill battle, okay? And what is cultural appropriation? It's basically plagiarism. Just not giving credit where it's due. But we can't find and go after every person that plagiarizes. But the best way we can fight them is let's see, hold on. My phone's being a little weird. Okay. The best way to tackle them on is through education and informing our community, informing others. If people have awareness and guidance of what to do, how to do it, then there's less things that can occur done out of ignorance. Because a lot of times these things are coming from a good place. And so whether we receive it as coming from a good place, because a lot of the cultures that are culturally appropriated from are marginalized and they're traumatized. Like the marginalization traumatized. So they're just like, again, they take from us again. But we mustn't look at it like that. So realistically, takers are going to take, and we can't stop them, nor should we. We want to continue to inform and teach well and just be in integrity. If you set an intention to be in integrity, then you're constantly going to do this checks and balance thing with yourself. Like, is this okay? Is this the right thing to do? And go from there. So, what is a fake healer? Someone who woke up one day and they're like, I'm a healer. and they have zero training, and they're moving from a place of ego. Like, if you don't have proper training to do a certain technique, you could actually be doing more damage than good. Oh, but it's all intuitive. Okay, your intuition is great, but I hope that you're open to receiving some critique, some teaching, some wisdom so that you could be an even better healer. Some of the best healers out there will literally say, I know nothing. Every time I talk with one of my teachers, I'm sitting there with my jaw open, like, wow, I really don't know anything. I really don't know anything at all. And that's the most humbling place to be the beginner, to feel like you're starting every single day. And that's going to keep you from really operating from this sense of ego, because even in the sense of ego, and maybe you know a lot of things, there's always an exception. There's always a nuance. There's always one situation where that didn't apply and you didn't receive it or catch it because you were operating from a place that you're like, oh, I already know. I know this situation. And the reality is, but do you really? Because each and every person is a unique snowflake. And so that's like fake healers. And the more we walk in unity, in our integrity, in alignment, then those fake healers will take care of themselves. Like the people that are meant to work with you, if you're wanting to step into this healing business, this healing realm, and this is who you are full time, outside of, like, I don't know, your corporate job, um, you're going to encounter all these charlatans. But if you stay true to yourself, people are going to gravitate towards your energy and they're going to find you and they're going to appreciate you. And when they meet you, they're going to be like, oh, yeah, she knows, he knows, they know. Oh, this is great. So hold on. Let's see. Now let's talk about shapeshifters. Shapeshifters are people who have the desire, the burning desire to want to do good, to want to help, but they don't know who they are. They haven't done any of their work properly. They haven't dug in deep enough. So they're constantly morphing. Like one day they may shave their head and say they are this deity. The next time they may have dreadlocks in their hair and they may say, this is what I'm doing now. And they'll keep going back and forth until they eventually find something that they like. Because in reality, on some level, we all shapeshift. This is all part of our growth process. But you don't want to completely lose your identity. So if, let's say, for example, you choose to work with me in my energy healing certification program, or shamanic mentorship, which in reality they're the same. I tell you, like, don't copy me. Please, 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 please do not regurgitate everything that I'm saying, because the magic is when you find you in the work. Like when you do it your way, your style, your flair, people will always be able to recognize your magical imprint. Upon this work. If you're copying someone else, they're not going to feel the magic. Some people might feel something, but it's not going to feel 100% fully authentic. So full on shapeshifters are inauthentic people. Okay. And so if you have the intention to be in integrity and to stay in your authenticity, then you're going to start to notice those who are not fully authentic. And when they're not fully authentic, basically they have they have a lot to hide. And that is a result of people not doing their work. Now, also, I mentioned renegade healers. So renegade healers, those are interesting. I think most of us, we all start off as a renegade healer. Renegade healers are healers that wake up to the awareness that they are a healer, that they have abilities to do certain things, and they've already figured out how to do few things, but they don't belong to a specific system or lineage. And you don't have to, okay? There's benefits to belonging to um, a specific lineage or specific system. Now, when you're a renegade, you're free to do whatever you want. The danger in that is you're free to do whatever you want. Um, if you work within a lineage or a system, like let's say you're following the pranic healing system or the Usui Reiki system, which is also a lineage as well, you have a roadmap of what to do, how to do it, and you can still put your style and flair on it, unless, of course, you belong to like a very strict lineage. And that's where some of the pros and cons are with belonging to a lineage or a system. You don't have as much flexibility or wiggle room to do what it is that you desire because you have committed to this specific thing. And that's why you're able to use their name and continue being one of their disciples or one of their students, progressing the lineage or the system of this healing protocol. So eventually, let's say you get initiated into some lineage or system, you get your certification in this system program, right? And then you start to slowly feel like you've outgrown some of the protocols. You're like, you know what? I've been doing this for like 5, 10 years now, and I'm sick of it. I'm going to change this part. I'm going to change this part. I'm going to change this part. I'm going to change this part and change this part. And then before you know it, you've created your own modality. You've created your own system, which is kind of what I've done. But the difference is you're not claiming everything that you've created in your modality as your own. I give credit. I'm like, well, my foundation is in Tantra. My foundation is in the Tao. My foundation is in Hatha Yoga, and so on and so forth. And so with all of these different pieces and also other esoteric studies and protocols, I grab all of these pieces together and I put it together and I call it my method, but with credit to these systems that helped form my foundation. And so now you can create your own thing that is under the influence of other things so that people know that, oh, she didn't just create this out of thin air. Because if you think about invention and creation, not everything is brand new because energy isn't necessarily created or destroyed, it's just reorganized. And so that's also what we're doing with these healing systems. But when you don't give due credit, so many things happen. You lose grace. You're not being fully authentic. You're not being fully truthful. If you're just joining in, please say hello in the chat and say where you're from. I would love to know where everyone is. But outside of that, let's talk about grace. What is grace? Grace is defined by so many people, but for me, I define grace as the amount of support that comes to support you when you're doing something sacred, or just anything that supports you in your daily life. It's almost like a bank account that you have. So if something goes sideways and it maybe turned out more positive than negative, it's because you had grace saving you from it going completely sideways. Now, when you run out of grace, then that's when weird things happen. And so this is why we pay our respects. This is why we always say thank you to our guides. This is why we always say thank you to our ancestors. This is why we call in the directions to create an awareness, to create gratitude, to call in grace and support, because that makes a difference. So if you're doing healing work and you're not calling in, I don't know, protection, you're basically in the wide open ocean bleeding or vulnerable. And, eventually what's going to happen, the sharks are going to come, the other predators are going to show up and be like, ooh, what's happening over here? And if they like it, they might join in a way that might not be pleasant. Now, How effective is your protection? That depends on your technique and where you've learned how to protect yourself. This is also the importance of sitting with a practitioner or facilitator that is properly trained when they lead any kind of ceremony. Okay. And that's another thing that I teach in my mentorship program. I show you the formula of what to do, how to protect yourself and protect others. Because when you lead a ceremony, you're not only taking on the responsibility of what happens to you spiritually, but you're taking on the karma and the responsibility of what's happening to everyone else in your circle that's trusting you to be the person who you are presenting yourself to be. So you're taking on their responsibility as well and their karma. So if anything goes sideways, guess who's responsible karmically? You are. So it's just a little food for thought. So it's like before you enter into a ritual or a ceremony, make sure you know what you're doing. Make sure that you have proper training. Make sure that if you're calling on any energies, that you have some sort of affiliation to these energies. Some of these energies are friendly and amicable and universal, and some of them are like, if you're not of the culture, what are you doing calling on me? Do you even know how to interact with me in the right way? And those are the nice ones. If the other ones that are a little bit more tough, sometimes they mess with you because they're like, oh, this person is easily overpowered. I'm going to mess with them and I'm going to turn their ceremony inside out and upside down because they don't know what they're doing. So that is part of the awareness of what it means to open into a ceremony or a ritual, because before you do any ceremonies and rituals, A, you need to have done some of your shadow work. B, you need to know what it means to actually hold space. And I don't mean hold space for a friend that's crying because they lost someone. I mean what it actually means to hold space. Do you know how to properly expand your energy and keep everyone safe within your energetic bubble? Another one is, so we said hold space, call in proper protection. I think I forgot the first one I said. But anyways, and making sure that you're not like crisscrossing all these random energies. Like if you're doing like an energy that's calling on a lot of fire, don't call in something that's like full of water. That's going to put out the fire. And if you're doing that, then you're not going to know. You don't know what you're doing. Unless, of course, there's too much fire and you need to calm the fire down. That's learning how to work with the elements. So when you do ceremonies and rituals, you need to have a basis. You need to have a foundation. You need to have a knowledge of elemental magic, because life is magic. Ceremony is magic. Hi there. Where are you coming from, Rebel Soldier 86? Welcome, welcome. So you need to have a foundation of clearing yourself first, understanding how to develop your skills, understanding elemental magic, and really knowing how to hone and open your toolbox. And then, of course, psychic self-defense. Do you know psychic self-defense? Because if you don't, you shouldn't be opening anything that you don't know how to properly close, because once you open the veil, there are things waiting for us on the other side of the veil at all times. Los Angeles and Alabama in the house. Welcome. And so these are little tips and tricks. And if you're interested, you're always more than welcome to reach out to me. My website is pinned in the chat. It's crystalsunhealing.com. And you can fill out a message to contact me. But number one, like when you want to be a healer and you want to do healing work and walk the good path, or the beauty path, they call it, the most important thing is accountability, authenticity, and understanding that the number one tenet in shamanism is accountability. Being informed about what you're doing and how you're doing it and why you're doing it makes you a better healer. My teacher, he was talking the other day, we were doing a presentation, and he leads plant medicine ceremonies, and he said, I don't sing songs that I don't know the meaning of. And I'm sitting there thinking, I do the same thing. But how many other people out there don't follow those protocols? They don't look up the translation, or they don't learn the proper translation of the songs that they're singing, because a lot of the let's say if you're singing medicine songs from like Peru, for example, a lot of people, they hear it and like, oh, that sounds so beautiful. That sounds so wonderful. And they don't know that they're calling on dark energies. And the reason for that is because the way life was 500 plus years ago is very different from how life is today. And so we're working and interacting with different energies. So you have to really, really know what you're doing. And then if you make a mistake, which we all make mistakes, um, own up to it. Like, people will appreciate if you say, "Oh, I totally fucked up." But I'm human, more than, "Oh, I know all and that's incorrect." Or you're speaking absolutes, saying this is the right way, this is the only way, and any other thing that says this otherwise is wrong. That is completely wrong. I've been told and I've learned so many things that were like, this is the wrong way, only to find out later on, actually, it can be bad if you follow this path in this way, but there is a use and there's a benefit if you're able to achieve this path. Uh, Hi, how's it going? And so that's part of the accountability piece. Another part of the accountability piece is everything that happens in your life, you're held accountable for, either for an action that you did or an action that you didn't do. And a lot of times, the actions that you didn't do were due to ignorance. And society, the matrix, plays on our ignorance. It plays on the fact that we don't know a lot of things about how life really works, how magic really works. And so, um basically, if you educate yourself and you learn as much as possible, and you correspond with different teachers, correspond with other colleagues, and you talk with them and ask them about their experiences, ask them about their journey, ask them about their walk, not taking any of what they say at taking it all at face value, because different strokes work for different folks. And what might be truth to one person may not be truth for another person, because we all come from different walks of life. And so, um, taking it back to the accountability, when we come as an open book or a blank slate, not knowing anything and wanting to learn as much as possible, learning what works for us, learning what doesn't work for us, this allows us to create greater accountability into our life. And then when we see how the actions that we have taken us to where we are right here, right now in this spot, and to those of you watching this video, live stream, and or recording, or why you didn't make it there. Those were based on all of our choices. All of our choices help create our reality. And when we become more aware of our reality, then we can manipulate and we can change it into a more desirable outcome. If people only understood and realized how easy it is to create your reality the way that your heart and higher self already has the blueprint, they would change a lot of things. They would unplug. That's like the most important thing. To have awareness of the world, to be interacting with the world, but not fully immersed or enmeshed or entrenched in the world as if you are part of the fixture of the world. And so it's pretty important that you take accountability for understanding how these things, and then the doors open. It's like open sesame. You can create whatever you want. abracadabra. And then when you call something into existence, you're like, okay, I want a teacher. I'm ready for my teacher. Where's my teacher? The universe is going to give you a teacher. Now, what kind of teacher? Some of my best teachers gave me the hardest lessons in my life, and these experiences helped me to grow. Your teacher's not necessarily going to be the one that you follow around with a notebook taking notes and say, oh, so how do you do this? How do you make this potion? How do you do that? You're going to have those teachers, but you're also going to have those teachers that push you down the stairs and give you a hard time and tell you you're worthless until you finally say, that is not true. I am valuable and I need it, and I don't need this job because you're paying me $13 an hour and that's not enough to live on. And that's ridiculous. We need so much more to actually have a good quality of life. But in reality, you actually don't need that much to have a good quality of life. That's the other joke that they played on you. You don't need a lot to thrive, but you do need a decent amount to survive. And so when you make the mindset switch, which is just a mindset, um, then all of a sudden you're thriving. And I learned this when I started traveling around the world and talking to other healers um, around the world and just asking about their experiences and how they live and how they thrive and how they make things happen and they create these miracles. The less stuff you have, the better you feel, and the lighter you feel, and the easier you flow. So, to wrap it all up, and if anyone has any questions about this topic, I'm opening the floor. Type in the chat if you have any questions about what's due about fake healers, shapeshifters, and renegade healers. Like I said, renegade healers, they're not really neither here nor there. They're not bad. Some of them can be bad, but you have to use discernment. You need to ask them about how they learn this, how they learn that, and why they do it this way and why they do it that way. And your internal compass will pretty much steer you into the right direction of what you're searching for, what you're looking for. Shapeshifters, have compassion for them. They don't know who they are. They have no idea who they are, which is why they keep replicating and shifting and this and that. And reality is you can't really trust them beyond what you see there because they don't know who they are. So if they don't know who they are, then how can they give you truth? And then, of course, with fake healers, once again, discernment. Let's see. Rebel Soldier asks, what crystals have I used to heal? That's a good question. I use all the crystals for healing. It just depends on what you're looking for, what you're interested in. Let's say if you have a root chakra issue or you have a sacral chakra issue or heart and so on and so forth, then you would use the corresponding crystal for that. So my favorite crystals to work with, clear quartz works for everything. And then pair it with a good grounding crystal. So it really just depends on what your intention is. And those are the best crystals for healing. Let's see. Halos and Horns Tarot. I was like, I don't know. I just know I'm called to heal. And that's perfectly fine. In the healing journey, it's all about informing and educating and learning. That's what it boils down to. And not claiming to be something that you aren't. Like, don't say that you've been doing healing work for 20 years when in reality you just started last year. Don't say that you're qualified to do this specific modality and you haven't been trained in that. Just be honest, be transparent. And if you're healing intuitively, tell them, I heal intuitively, I listen to spirit. And then make sure that you know how to protect yourself and protect those around you. And I'm not saying like a simple phrase of, uh, no, I'm not going to say it because I don't want anyone to get mad at me. But just saying, like, I'm protected. You know, at some point in time, you can say, I am protected if you know, if you have the foundation of what it looks like to protect yourself. Okay. A lot of us, we start off with a specific routine and a specific pattern until eventually it gets locked into our subconscious and we're on autopilot. And then we're like, okay, protection is up. So that's the most important part about healing. My advice to you is to continue to learn, make sure that you are constantly informing yourself. If you're borrowing or if you're feeling inspired by other cultures, just understand all about the culture. So if you're borrowing from the Native Americans, ask them about why do they call on this deity? Why do they think these energies? Understand what it is that you're doing. And this is what makes you an informed healer. And this is what allows people to gain trust from you and know that you're real. You're the real deal. So I hope that little tidbit helps. Halos and Horns Tarot. I hope that helps. But because, like I said, we're all healers, whether we choose to step into it or not. Does anyone else have any other questions? Um, let's see. For love is rose quartz. Yes, yes, it is. And black tourmaline is my go-to, but for healing, I agree. Clear quartz. Also, another, yeah, clear quartz and turquoise, real turquoise. Ooh, those two are phenomenal. Those are great. And black tourmaline is great for everything. So grounding and protection. So greetings. So, yeah, that was my little share that I wanted to share with everyone. If you have any questions pertaining to this subject about healers, what to do about fake healers, or people just kind of going rampant and going off doing their own thing, which, like I said, is perfectly okay. Just use discernment, ask them lots of questions. And if someone ever gets mad at you for asking questions, don't work with that person, please, okay? Because them getting defensive, them getting irritated, that is coming from a place of ego. There, I said it. Because even when I was a kindergarten teacher and children would ask me a million questions, I did not take it personal. In fact, when I felt overwhelmed by the questions, which sometimes people can ask a lot of questions, I would just take a deep breath and realize that this is coming from a place of curiosity, and with clear and soft communication or loving communication, you can handle any situation. Another thing that my teacher always reminds me of: handle everything with love. Even the most frustrating situations, handle it with love. Do everything with love, and all the doors are going to continue to open for you each and every time. So, all right. Yes, and thank you. I study and protect those closest. Beautiful. And of course, as a healer, make sure that you continue to do your work as well. That's the most important thing. If you want to be an excellent healer, you have to do your work. You have to do so much work in the beginning, so that the universe is like, oh, this is a person that's doing their work. Yay. Okay, we're going to put you in the role of teacher. Okay, we're going to put you in the role of facilitator. But until you're in that space of being able to share because you have enough experience under your belt, that willingness and earnestness to heal is a good thing. But I tell all my students, please, 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 please remember that you cannot clean dishes with a dirty sponge. You, as the healer, are the sponge. So you need to make sure that your sponge is clean before you try to clean anything else outside of yourself. So that is one thing I want to remind everyone. Energetic hygiene is key. It's pertinent, and I'm probably going to do a video on energetic hygiene and its importance, how it's pretty much everything, because there's a lot of people out here, their energetic hygiene is filthy. It's complete ass, and it's really not cool. And these a lot of times these are people that are well known, and they just got so busy, they got so overwhelmed, they got so sidetracked that they didn't notice when little dirt balls got in their house. And they think because they're like the hot shot, they're like so popular and this and that, they don't have time for these things. And that's when you get in big trouble. This is when you see great healers actually fall into a bad place, and then they become dark workers, which that is going to be my next video. So I'm going to hop off this live stream now. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm working on going live more often. I'm definitely going to go live again soon. And if you tune in, I'll probably offer some free and donation-based readings if that is something that interests you. So please stay tuned and like, share, comment below, and I'll see you next time.